Welcome everyone to Alula Education. Today it's all about metaphor, so shall we start? So in today's lesson, our students will be able to identify a figure of speech, which is metaphor, develop understanding of all of its features, 3. Explore metaphors in poetry. Last but not least, we're gonna sort metaphors in an online game. So we're done with our learning objectives, so we move to the outline, and here you can see that we have a starter, which is have you ever heard? Then we're going to move to definition of metaphors. Then we're going to move to the use of metaphors. We're going to explore a bit more about the use, why do we use it, where to find it. Then we're going to have an extra research for high achievers in your classroom. They would like to go deeper and do some extra research. Then we're going to tackle the main important thing in the whole lesson, which is metaphors in poetry. We're going to get an excerpt from a song. I'm already there. We're going to see metaphor in there, and we're going to see how is it shown in the song. Then we're going to end everything with an online game. It's about metaphors, and it's called Metaphor Sorting in Muggo's Brain. So shall we start with today's session? So here is our starter, and have you ever heard Safe's teeth are white pearls? Have you ever heard Safe's teeth are white pearls? So if we look at the sentence that we have and we look at the illustrations that are there, we have Safe's teeth and we have white pearls on the right side. So when I'm saying Safe's teeth are white pearls, what do I exactly mean by my sentence? Now, if you think about it, they are talking about the teeth and the white pearls. And if we look about the common things that we have here, we have the shiny teeth and the shiny pearls. We have the white teeth and the white shiny pearls. So here, Safe's teeth and the white pearls actually have things in common, and they are very bright, shiny, just like pearls. Now, since we tackled previously similes, you can see here that they didn't say Safe's teeth are like white pearls, but they said immediately white pearls. Now, moving to the second example that we have you ever heard hardworking students are all brains? Have you ever heard hardworking students are all brains? What do you think the meaning behind this sentence is? Now, if we look at, again, the illustrations that we have, we can see that we are comparing two things, the hard-working students on the left side and the brain on the right side. You know that the brain in our body is actually the very important thing there, and when I say about someone that he has a big brain, that means he's actually very smart. So when I'm comparing these students to brains, that means I'm saying that these students are very smart, and thus I'm comparing them to a brain. Now we note again that they never used as, they never used like, and immediately you have the sentence as are all brains, not like brains and not as smart as brains. Now, two sentences are done, one more to go, and have you ever heard Pharisees' eyes are sparkling jewels? Pharisees' eyes are sparkling jewels. That's a very cute illustration that we have on the left side, and something that I personally love on the right side, which the jewel. You can see that jewels are really loved, especially by females, and you can see that Pharisees' eyes are actually being compared to jewels. Now, when I'm saying that Pharisees' eyes are sparkling jewels, and when I look deep into his eyes, I can see that they are shiny, they are sparkling, they are full of ambitions, and they are being compared to jewels. We look at jewels again, we see all the sparkles, all the shine, and thus these two are being compared, and Pharisees' eyes are shining with ambitions and thirst for education and learning, and thus these are being compared to jewels. Have all of our examples there. We have Safe's teeth are white pearls, hardworking students are all brains, and Pharisees' eyes are sparkling jewels. So relying and based on these examples that we have, could you please try thinking about today's lesson? What do you think the title is based on these? Well, we already know that these are all examples of what we call metaphors. So this is the title of today's session, and this is what we're going to tackle in all of our lesson today. So what is a metaphor? Why do we use a metaphor? Can you give us some examples of metaphor? This is what we're going to watch now in this YouTube video, so we can get to know more about metaphors.
Figurative language devices. Figurative language uses figures of speech to be more effective, persuasive, and impactful. Metaphors. Metaphors compare one thing to another without using like or as. My teacher is a dragon. She is a shining star. You are my sunshine.
This was the video that we just watched, and now I want you to tell me what is a metaphor, or what is the definition that you can tell me from the video that you just watched about metaphors. Take 1 minute, try to combine all your ideas in complete sentences in order to share a full definition. Please make sure that you brainstorm your ideas until 1 minute is up. Then you can share your answers with the facilitator and other students in the live discussion. So 1 minute starts now. For 30 seconds, please make sure that you are brainstorming some ideas in order to provide a complete definition. Fifteen seconds. Okay, so time's actually up now. The definition of metaphor is the following. A metaphor is the comparison of two things without the words like or as. So now this is very different from simile in one aspect, which is without. You can see that this word is capitalized since this is a very important word that needs to be stressed in the definition. And the full definition is that a metaphor is the comparison. So I'm comparing two things together, but this time I don't put like and I don't put as. The simile, when we explained the simile yesterday, we said that in the simile I compare two things and I make sure to add the word like, or I make sure to add the word as. This time I tell you don't add it for metaphor and leave your sentence without it. This is what we actually saw in the previous examples given, in which I explained and told you that Pharisees' eyes are like jewels. I never said are like jewels. This is the simile. I said Pharisees' eyes are sparkling jewels. I never mentioned as, and I never mentioned like. So we finished the definition of metaphors, and thus we move to a very important question. Why do we use metaphors? What is the reason behind having metaphors in our poem? What does it add to the poem itself? Does it make it more interesting? Does it make it more beautiful, lively, entertaining? What are these reasons behind adding metaphors to poetry? Now guys, metaphors are used in poetry to create an image. So this is reason number one, and they are saying that it helps you as readers to imagine, to start creating, having an image inside your head. So the minute that you read the example, you'll start feeling and you'll start sensing, you'll start creating an image of what you read inside your head. It is a figure of speech, and this is not actually a new term. We already spoke about this when we talked about alliteration, when we spoke about similes, and for the third time we're talking about metaphors. Metaphors are used in poetry too. Number one, compare things in the mind of the reader. So you are the readers of the poem, and the minute that you read this metaphor in the poem, you'll start comparing things in your mind. And when I say comparing things, that means you are finding the similarities between these two things. What are the common things between them? If we go back and remember the example given about Mr. Faris, when I said Pharisees' eyes are sparkling jewels, so you started to compare Pharisees' eyes and the jewels, the similarities between the two. What are the common things in between Pharisees' eyes and the jewels? Number two is express emotions, and this is not actually a new term that we discussed. We already spoke about this when we introduced similes. And when I say express emotions, that means feelings and sensations. You will start feeling that emotions are floating inside your body. Number three is give the reader a more descriptive understanding about a particular object or a person, and you can see that it plays the role of description. I'm describing, it's either describing an object or a person. You can see that in sentence number one that I gave, I was describing Safe's teeth to that of Pearl's. So I was explaining that Safe's teeth are very bright, they are shiny, just like white pearls, and this is describing Safe's teeth. Last but not least is make the writing more vivid and entertaining, and this is actually the same for similes. So when I read a poem and this poem has metaphors, I feel that this poem is actually fun, it's actually nice, lovely to read, and it feels that the poem is a bit lively, and this is when I say vivid. So these are the reasons behind using metaphors in poetry. Compare things in the mind of the reader, express emotions, give the reader a more descriptive understanding about a particular object or person. Last but not least, it's make the writing more vivid and entertaining. Now guys, metaphors are a ray of sunshine in your writing, and here from my sentence you can see that metaphors are like sunshine, something that shines brightly in your writing. So the minute that you add metaphors in your writing, the writing would be elevated, much more interesting to read, and much more lively and vivid. Now here I made sure to attach some examples of metaphors that you can use. And number one, I have a picture. It's raining cats and dogs. Number two, I'm feeling blue. Number three, a blanket of snow. Number 4, the stars are sky diamonds. I have also the house was a zoo. I have my daddy is a teddy bear. And I have last but not least, he is an angel. Now, some of you might start asking, Miss Ala, what is the meaning behind these metaphors? Well, actually, here comes your part. Make sure that you research and find the meanings behind these metaphors. It's actually very simple. You just need to take the metaphor that is mentioned, type it on Google, and then you'll immediately find some explanation related to these metaphors provided in this slide. I also have here another one. I have life is a roller coaster. I have her hair is a golden river. I have the world is a stage. I have his eyes are shining stars. I have you are my sunshine. The wind was a howling wolf. And last but not least, thunder is a roaring lion. So again, these are very nice metaphors. You can type them on Google and find everything related to the meaning behind these metaphors. Okay, so we finished explaining about metaphors. We gave the definition. We gave some features. Why do we use a metaphor? Reasons behind using metaphors. These were already discussed in the previous part of the lesson. And let's just make sure that the summary is very clear to everyone. When a writer uses figurative language, they want to appeal to the reader's senses, imagination, or sense of humor. So when I say appeal, that means they want to look nice and they want to make the reader uses his imagination, his senses, and sometimes they want you to laugh when you read these figurative language devices. And when I say figurative language devices, I mean alliteration, I mean metaphors, I mean similes, and hopefully next week we're going to discuss personification. The meaning of a figurative language phrase goes beyond the literal meaning of each individual word. And you can see that in the sentence I made sure to highlight a very important part, which is beyond the literal meaning. And when I say beyond the literal meaning, I mean that you need to read the sentence carefully and you need to see more than the words that are written. The writer of this sentence, of this metaphor, is trying to tell you something more than the words that he gave you. So you need to make sure that you analyze the metaphor and see what the author or what the writer is trying to tell you. Now here I made sure to attach song lyrics, and this is not actually the full one, but I made sure to just grab a part of this, and this is what I called excerpt. So excerpt means a small part of it. Now the title is I'm Already There, and it's written by Lonestar. So let's check the song and see where can I locate metaphors in all the different stanzas. Now this is the title. I made sure to highlight it alone, which is I'm Already There. The title is a very important part, so make sure that it's always there. Now this is here actually the first part of the poem, and here we have the second part of the poem. Now before we actually go deeper inside the meanings, inside the song, inside to find the metaphor, let us just try to remember the features about the different stanzas, verses, and etc. Okay, so this is a screenshot that I can write on. Let me go through the stanzas first. Now you can see that it's divided here into two stanzas. This is stanza 1. So this is stanza 1. And you can see now stanza 2 is very clear. Let me just make sure to write the word stanza so we can remember that. And this is the second stanza. Let me highlight it in a different color. Here we go. This is stanza 2. You can also see that in each stanza I have different verses. So this is verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, and we go. I'm not going to highlight all, you just got the meaning, the basics. So 2 stanzas and you have different verses in each. So when I ask you to look for metaphors in stanza 1, make sure that you check the first stanza. And when I ask you to check for metaphors in stanza 2, make sure that you're checking here the second stanza. Okay, so let me just quickly read it for you. I'm already there. Take a look around. I'm the sunshine in your hair. I'm the shadow on the ground. I'm the whisper in the wind. I'm your imaginary friend. And I know I'm in your prayers. Oh, I'm already there. So this was the first stanza. Let me repeat that for you. I'm already there. Take a look around. I'm the sunshine in your hair. I'm the shadow on the ground. I'm the whisper in the wind. I'm your imaginary friend, and I know I'm in your prayers. Oh, I'm already there. So this was the first stanza. Now let's move to the second one. I'm already there. Don't make a sound. I'm the beat in your heart. I'm the moonlight shining down. I'm the whisper in the wind, and I'll be there until the end. Now I'll read that again for you. This is the second stanza. I'm already there. Don't make a sound. I'm the beat in your heart. I'm the moonlight shining down. I'm the whisper in the wind, and I'll be there until the end. Now, quickly explaining, you can see that it's talking about friendship. It's talking about friends, and you know that nowadays true friends are very hard to find. So if you have a good friend, a true friend, you're supposed to appreciate your friend, you're supposed to listen to your friend, you're supposed to mention your friend in your prayers to God, saying, God, please make sure that this friend, I'm not going to mention a name, any friend that you have has the best in life. And this is the appreciation coming from the heart, the beat inside your hearts. So this was the first and second stanza of this song. I want you now to take a minute, look at them, and try to find some metaphors in this song. You have to find me metaphor at least one in stanza 1 and at least one in stanza 2. For students who can find more than one, you are free to do so. Try to locate and find me some metaphors in 1 and some metaphors in stanza 2. Make sure that you read the song again. Make sure that you go deeply into the meanings. You check all the verses that you have in order to locate metaphors. Okay, now let's check some correct answers here, and you can see that I highlighted all the metaphors that you can find in stanza 1, and these are 4 metaphors. Imagine 4 in just one stanza. The first one is I'm the sunshine in your hair. The second one, I'm the shadow. The third one is I'm the whisper. Last but not least, I'm your imaginary friend. So these are the 4 metaphors found in stanza number 1. Now, if I look at the first one, which is actually I'm the sunshine in your hair, I try to look deeper into the meaning beyond the words. I can see that the singer wants the listener to feel bright and happy. So the singer is actually Lonestar, and you are the listeners. He wants you, after listening, to feel bright, to feel happy, like the sun shining on clean hair. So imagine that the sun is shining on clear hair, and it shows a very nice and bright, happy atmosphere. And this is the reason behind adding this metaphor in verse number 3. Now, moving to the second one, which is I'm the shadow. So the singer wants you now behind this metaphor to know that he's always there, like your own shadow. So he is a good friend. He's always there when you need him. And you know that shadows do not really separate from the person. Now I'll make sure to attach a picture of shadow in order for the metaphor to be clear. Okay, so here you can see the shadow of the person, and when he said I'm like your shadow, that means to my friend I always stand behind his back, I always help him when he's needed, and I'm always there for him or her. And guys, you already know that for friendship we have a lot of quotes. They are very nice. You can just type on Google friendship quotes, and for quotes you can find awesome words. I'll share 2 that I find very interesting. Number 1 is that anything is possible when you have the right people there to support you and back you up. And good friends are hard to find, harder to leave, and impossible to forget. Just like I consider you awesome students, you are very hard to find, you are very hard to leave, and you are impossible to forget. Now, this was mentioned in verse number 4. Moving to verse number 5, I have another metaphor. I'm the whisper. Now, the word whisper was previously discussed in a previous PowerPoint presentation. And when I say whisper, that means I'm talking quietly. So, talking very quietly. So, the singer here, when he said, I'm the whisper, he wants to hear his friend's voice everywhere. So he likes his friend a lot, so he wants to hear his voice everywhere, even in natural sounds around him, like the wind. So he even wants to hear his friend's voice in the wind. So you see how deep this friendship is, and how this singer really appreciate his friend. So this is the third metaphor that we find in verse number 5. Moving to the last one in the first stanza, I'm your imaginary friend. This is actually a very deep one. So here, a child's imaginary friend is always available to play or to comfort them. When I say imaginary friend, that means he's always there with me, just like the singer wants the listener to think of them like that. So he's really appreciating, he's really loving, caring, and for this friend, he's always there with him. So these are the 4 metaphors found in the first stanza. I'm the sunshine in your hair, I'm the shadow, I'm the whisper, and last but not least, I'm your imaginary friend. So this was the analysis of the first stanza. Let us move to the second one. And guys, actually for the second stanza, 2 metaphors are present. The first one is I'm the beat in your heart. This is verse number 3. Verse number 4, it's I'm the moonlight. Let us start with I'm the beat in your heart. And here this is a very nice metaphor. It's comparing a friend to the heartbeat of a person. Your heartbeat never stops, and the singer of this song never stops loving or thinking about his friend, the listener of this song. Wow, this is a very nice metaphor actually. It's a very strong and deep one to describe someone else. Describing someone else to a heartbeat. Okay, enough with the heartbeat. Let's go to the second metaphor, which is I'm the moonlight. Now, this is also a very nice metaphor that means even at nighttime, the singer will be there watching over the listener, which is his friend, like the moon in the night sky. And this is a very nice imagery created here. So in stanza 2, we found 2 metaphors. I'm the beat in your heart, and I'm the moonlight. So this marks the second stanza, and by this we are already done with the song. So we still have one more objective for the lesson, which is actually the online game. So now please try playing the online game in order to identify metaphors. You can take your time, around 7 minutes, or until you master the game and you win. Okay, so when you click on the link that I sent via the channel, this is the actual site that you will see, and the title is Metaphor Sorting in Muggo's Brain. So please make sure that before you enter, if this asked you for, let's say, an email, a password, a Gmail, you already have everything. The school already gave you an email, so you can use this in order to play the game. This is not your first time logging in. It's actually the 3rd game that we play here. So you should be fine now, and you should be used to this whole system and the way we play online. And for this, I'm going to read right here for you. Help Muggo sort his thought clouds in this word categorization game. Players must drop each metaphor to the basket where it belongs. This fun game helps familiarize kids with common figurative language, increasing their vocabulary. And you can see that from the outside, this is very similar to the previous game that we played related to similes. So what you do is just you go and you tap on this green button right here for the play, and it will immediately take.
Muggo has too many metaphors floating around his head, and he needs help sorting them out. Sort the metaphor clouds into the categories listed in Muggo's brain. Put the emotion metaphors here. Put the action metaphors here. Put the appearance metaphors here.
Hit the done button when you're finished.
Okay, so as you can see, this is quite similar to the previous game related to simile. So I'll just explain it really quickly. You can see that you are inside Muggo's brain right now, and you see that his brain is separated into 3 parts. The first part, it's number 2. If you see this, it's emotions, and you can see next to emotions that you have a heart. So this is related to feelings. When you read the sentence, the metaphor, make sure that it's related to emotions, feelings. You take it and...
Emotion metaphors describe how someone feels. Action metaphors describe what someone or something does. Appearance metaphors describe how someone or something looks.
Hit the done button when you're finished.
Now, for the second one, which is action, you take the metaphor. If this is something related to activities, movements, last but not least, it's the appearance part. You take it and you put it in appearance, how things look. So you just take one from here, you keep on holding it, and you put it in the correct section. Look. So it's super simple. You just press and you keep on pressing and... Okay, so let me take one for you. Look at this one. It's he exploded with anger. So angry, you know, angry, we took before angry, we took furious. So he exploded with anger. Am I talking about emotions? Am I talking about actions? Or am I talking about appearances? Now, anger is something that you will also be included in emotions, since this is something that you feel. And you continue taking the clouds that you have up until you finish, and you go and press on this button, which is done. That means you are done with your game. So try playing this game for around 7 minutes until you master and you have all the correct answers. So this is it for today's session. These are the resources used in today's class. We have education.com, we have Twinkl, some of YouTube, and further details will be given in the description box. So make sure that you check their videos and make sure that you check the original one. That is it for today's metaphor lesson by Alula Education. Stay safe everyone, and see you next time in another lesson.